The two things that I want to say is in third section, after the pack and palm, so it's 1 and 2, we then go into the tan and drop. So that's fine. Yep, perfect. So left hand, so you're coming out with the left hand, drop. And on this one, don't straighten your arm. That's what I wanted to look at. So think almost of, this is a really important element with this. If we do bong lat fax out, it's very easy for us to think of that fixed elbow position. And this would be incorrect, because if I keep my bong there and I lat fax out, if I'm looking at my chin, I'm looking through my wrist, so you can just watch this, and I lap, and there's my fax out on my chin, and now it's off of my chin and it comes around. So I'm going around. So sometimes what you might find is you allow the elbow to move out of the way in order for that fax out to go in the straight line. In the same way as this tan here, Rob, we need to get that hand straight down center, straight down. And what you're doing a little bit, and you've just done it there again, which is great, because I can teach you something. It's wrong, but it's great because that gives me a chance to show you. And if you're doing that, lots of other people will be as well. So I've come out with the tan. What I don't do is leave my elbow there, because if I do that, I'm not going to bring this hand across in line with the leg. It'll stay in center, and that's incorrect. So there's two ways I'm going to teach you this, and one of them is that go really old school. One way that I used to break this down was to break this into thirds. The first third is the back of my hand going straight down center. The second third is the blade going straight down center. And the last third is veering off to the side. So what I get is 1, 2, 3. So we see that 1, 2, 3. But the most important thing is I'm not going across to this side of my body. I'm not going over, which I would have to do if I leave my elbow. So this brings us on to the second idea, second way of thinking, and that is that I'm going to let that elbow move out of the way. Watch my elbow. Is it like playing Jenga, that stacking game? And what I'm going to do with this is knock the bottom brick away. As that goes away, the hand then falls straight down. So I move the elbow out and the hand goes straight down. I don't, in this case, leave my elbow where it is. So this is going to be wrong. Let the elbow move out, because the focus and the thought on this is the hand going straight down to that point as quick as possible. And where is that point? Where are we going to? Well, what we're going to try and have is, if you can put your left hand, again, fingers relaxed, on your leg, just on a nice relaxed slap on your leg, good bend on your elbow. And then all we're going to do is lift that off a little bit. And it's important that you see this. I'll show you from the side. All I'm going to do here is lift off a little bit. That's it, just lifting off. What we need to be careful not to do is rotate your shoulder. We're not doing that. It's not a low bong. This is when we kind of go into this strange position. So all relaxed, shoulders relaxed, little bend on the elbow, hand on my leg. And I'm just going to leave all of this the same and just lift that away from my body. And the reason for that is because the wrist needs to be in center line. We know center line principles. Well, if I face this way on a 45 angle and somebody standing here comes in with a body shot to try and hit me low at this point, as they're coming into hit here, I'm going to drop my elbow down into it and my wrist. So I'll rather, you notice my elbow moves out. Just watch this for a sec, Rob. So my elbow moves out and I drop down. Now what you guys are looking at is my wrist dead center. So again, here I am. Punch comes underneath, and I turn, and I drop. Wrist is dead center. Let me do it this way now. And again, the punch comes in, body shot, and I turn. And to that corner now, my wrist is dead center. If I leave my hand and I square up, it's above the leg. So that position, the reason why it's gone to the leg is representing the dead center if I turned with it. If I bring this with me, it's here. So I turn back, I bring it with me, center, take it there. I'm going to leave that and I square up. So this is why I need to just as quick as I can, because leaving my elbow takes a longer route. Moving my elbow gets the hand, boom, straight down. how big that elbow gets out of the way and the hand goes down to it. Or 1, 2, 3. Rob, can you jump in now? And that's a good line, mate. That's a good line there. Just don't go past your leg.
I was just thinking of it then, because you think of it as almost a reverse of scooping to centre in Siu Lim Tau.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, exactly, mate. But what you're doing
you're staying on centre, but you're still scooping, aren't you? You're moving the elbow out the same as you're moving the elbow in to take centre.
Yes, and just what you're doing there is spot on. You're moving your elbow out perfectly. What happens a little bit, and Rob, you got to watch for this one, because before, cheers, mate, because before you kept your elbow the same position and you've gone for this swing. Now, when you move the elbow out, you're just allowing yourself a little bit of that similar kind of swing, and that's why your hand will be tempted to go too far. So what you did before, look at this. I'll do this badly, all right? So the elbow's the same, and we drop down to a straight. That's the thing. Now you've moved the elbow. If I exaggerate that, that would be good. But there's a muscle memory of that still wanting to go straight, which is now too far. So just think of that hand quickly getting to that position. So you're just going to strike down. So let the elbow go wherever it needs to get out of the way. So this moves and the hand goes straight down, but not past. So you're going a little bit, that's better, yeah. And what we need then, remember, you're not defending your groin area. So this is like coming in for the ribs as a body shot. So from the dropping down to there is more than enough. That's fine. So you don't need to go way past that. Does that make sense, Nick, that reference? Yeah, cool. I just saw you there measuring that as well. And I'm getting the idea. Ibrahim, let me see what you're doing there. Yeah, good. So yeah, if you were stood on an angle and that body shot came in, then I'd be dropping down to try and block it with my wrist in that attack. And we can see how centered that is. If I turn here, that's great. When I square up with the whole thing, it's the same thing. I'm still in center with this. If I leave that there and just turn the body, then we see it's off to the side. Take the body with it, it becomes in center. So that's the thing. Yeah, and I like that one, Rob. That's a nice one. The way that you scoop back up, you allow that elbow to go with it, don't you? So it's the same. In the same way as we allow the elbow to go with it, allow the elbow to get out.
Yeah, one's coming in, that one's going out. Same motion though. Yeah.
And just making sure that we stop at that point, because you will have got used to a little bit of going to the arm straight. There's also a couple of things with that. If you have your arm straight, two things happen with this. When your arm is straight, you've got that danger of impact on your elbow joint where the force is coming in. And you've also got the idea of guiding that up anyway in toward your ribs. So what we want is, if your arm was bent, imagine almost like a mime artist leaning against a bar. You know, if you were leaning here, you'd be really strong there, wouldn't you? You could push your upper arm down like jump out. Same thing. This is a really strong position. What we've got here with that slight bend, connecting that strength with that weight. So that's why when you drop down to it, that's all you need. We're not trying to bounce it out of the way. We're not trying to stop there, damage our elbow, or guide it into us. We need to make sure that we drop straight down to it. So that's yeah. Don't be tempted to throw it off to the side, because it would actually be quite bad for it. It would be detrimental. Nick, anything? Yeah. I see you itching there. She's great.
Yeah, but maybe a little bit more history to this. So it's a little bit vexing to me. If we're always, I do understand it, but I'm still trying to figure out why we leave center in Siu Lim Tau. So clearly, if I don't turn, this gives me a good reason to leave center to address that strike. But if I'm always turning, I almost feel like, are we somewhere along the line in the history and development of Siu Lim Tau? It almost feels like you're developing this bad habit, right? To kind of leave center. You know, why don't we just do that outside pec on center in the third section and just drive down and stay on center? Does my question make sense? I guess it's just a little interesting to me for these two specific techniques that we demonstrate the finished position as a turn.
Yeah, it's an interesting Unfortunately, you started there, and I went spider web again because there were so many different things. We can, oh dear. Siu Lim Tau is like your toolbox. We learn the techniques, but what we've got to be careful of, I think, really early on, is to learn that that tool is only used for that position in that sequence at that particular time. You know, we need to understand the shape of that tool, but understand its possibilities, really. And I think there's some signs in that. It seems very clever in that I think it's kind of evolved. You know, it's not just been written down, because that would be beyond clever. But I think it's secrets kind of creep out of it, and you think, well, I never thought that before. And maybe no one else did either. But let me give an example then, because there's several to this. We look at the one deciding factor is the first technique in the first form, that first Tansao, where we don't go across the body. The first thing that we do is we go straight into center and straight down center. So that's key, because everything that we're going to talk about in everything that we do is going to be referring to a center line, either attacking down it or recovering it, you know, protecting it or trying to destroy it, whatever. It's about center line. So the first thing we need to do is know what center line is. And that's why this is not corrupted at all, that beginning. We're straight down it. We know what the center is. We also, within that, know where the driving force is, that it's here, it's in our elbow, and it goes back. We know that this is the engine, but this is only the steering wheel. We also add to that, we know that our distance, we know our range, our parameters, we know that safety of that front yard that we've got. Within that first move, I mentioned last week about 1, 2, 3 joints, and those working like that, extending garden fencing, like garden trellis, but it works like this, you know, like the boxing glove on the stick, these kind of things. In that we don't focus on just the one joint, you know, we don't focus on just the one joint. We use all three of these together in order to create a required effect. So that makes sense. Sometimes what we might need to do is we might need to use one area more than another. So in second section, we saw this technique, and we noticed that gates 1 and 2 had been taken. So I slip and I drive in with gate number 3. So completely off the mark and ignoring these two. When we look at that straight line, do you remember a while ago I said when we're doing punches? Well, people then see, well, this is a circular effect. They see the hands, but this is the, like Ibrahim, you mentioned about the train, you know, and there's been like the elbow is forwards and backwards, but on the wheel of the train, it looks like it's a circle. So what is it? When we play Chi Sao, this looks like a circle, but the elbow is going straight up, straight down. So what is it? So we don't know. When I say about this one not going around, then this, we say, well, you're meant to have a fixed elbow position, but now this is going round. So is it okay for you to let the elbow move out? Yes, because we are changing from one particular joint to another particular joint. You know, like when we do the punch, we drive with the elbow. A turning punch, remember, it's got 6 points to it. A turning punch, when we turn, it's got the foot, the knee, the hip, the shoulder, the elbow, and the punch. And they all play their part, and they land at the same time. But the power generated from the explosive energy on the fist is different to that from the turn, different to that from the driving of the elbow. So they all play their part in order to, as quickly and efficiently as possible, get to that end result. In the same way as, like I talked last week about a racing car, taking weight off of it and making it more aerodynamic in order to get it to its destination quicker. So in this case, I move my elbow out a little bit in order to let that hand go straight down. In this one dropping down, I move my elbow out a little bit in order to allow the hand to get there as fast as possible and not take the long route. So that's the first part of the spider web. I just want to tell you where my mind went. That we look at the form and we understand initially certain things are carved in stone. We need to know what centerline is. So this is the first thing. I then tell you that the pattern mustn't change, but the applications equally must be open to interpretation. We must be able to do whatever we want with applications. So then let's start looking at your actual question. You've said, well, are we teaching ourselves to overcommit because we should be dropping to center? Okay, maybe. When we do packs out in third section, we pack to center, don't we? But if I turn, bend my knees and sit back, that hand looks like it's in line with my opposite shoulder. It hasn't turned. The target hasn't moved. I have. You can see with that line behind me in the mirror, in the window, that the target hasn't moved. I have. But in the form, we pack across because we're representing what it would look like if I'd turned with that. We're looking with the same with the low gown. So why is that? Well, you might want to look at this again, like I talk about protecting this front yard and not overcommitting, not going too far out or too high or too low. And you can almost think of this as like a glass case in front of you, like a glass cabinet. And again, we go back to the mime artist. When I do my packs house, I'm showing the sides of this wall. I can either show the closest side of this wall in first section. I show the furthest part outside this wall. I show the top corner of this box. I show the top center of this box. I show the lowest corner of this box. I show the lowest center of this box. So throughout this, we can kind of see ourselves playing all these different areas within it. So that's another reason. Let's understand our extremes, because what we're trying to do is get as much as we can in the first form. When we get to third form, I'll come back to you, Ibrahim, just one sec. When we get to third form, we teach ourselves to recover overcommitment, but we need to know what overcommitment is. So maybe there's a little bit of that being investigated in the first form. The last thing I want to say on this is, just on our last session, I mentioned the very fact that, okay, we want to turn with this. Yes, we do want to turn. And when we square up, we'll realize that is in center. So I'm representing the turn. But your feet will never be as fast as your hands. And so if we're in a situation where we are here and you are trying to diffuse a situation, boom, and a punch quickly comes in, whoa, that quick fire jolt to attack that attack has actually given us exactly that position. If it was a bigger move, if I wind this up, boom, and drive in, then I might see this and think, holy jamoli, boom, and I'm going to have to drop down to stop that because I don't want to put all my faith in this. I might hit it, but it still might drive through and bust the position. So when we practiced last week for Thursday, and we had Howard and Paul, we had the beginners, and and I was saying about with this, okay, let's just go quickly to that corner, this corner, this corner. So wherever I move to, and what did I want? I wanted it fast and back. I wanted you to attack the attack. I said, as soon as you touch my arm, imagine you're getting 20,000 volts. So straight away. So don't hold that shape in that position. So straight, yeah, just do one of those nick and stop. And where have you gone to? That extreme, you see. So yes, we would like to turn and drive into it, but sometimes it might be really quick that you end up, oh, and it's just a jolt, because you will never turn as fast as you can move your hand. Otherwise, we'd all be like gold medalists, wouldn't we? So this is the thing. So lots of reasons there. I'm looking at just on the first form. This bit is carved in stone. We might use it as representing all of our extremes and all of our kind of in this glass cabinet, because anything beyond that is not hands, it's kicks. If it's beyond kicks, go home, have some cup of tea, because there's no fight. So that's irrelevant. Then we look at the body mechanics within this, that sometimes we will change from one to another. It might be an elbow driving the force of the punch, but it's the fist on the end. That might also be supported by the turn. So we start to use little bits. So we can justify why the elbow might move a little bit in order to get this to its destination quickly. It might move a little bit to quickly get it to its destination. And so I think as well, what can happen is if we said, going again back to the original question, that this is your pack, this is the pack, this is the low gown, this is the low gown. Some people do this. I can see that, and we could easily justify it that a pack is a pack and a low gown is a low gown. But then you would be so trained of muscle memory for that position that position, which is great, but it would only be successful if it was connected with the turn, If we take away the turn, we could be really in a little bit of trouble. So I think it gives us a little bit of leeway for those who might be super fast, and our biggest kind of mockers, I don't know, some person might say, oh, well, it's all right. It's all well and good. You doing a bong lap fax out, you doing a low gun and punch. But if I come in with a fast punch, you won't be quick enough. There might be some truth in that. But if that person comes in with a low punch and you just react, you did react, you didn't use your turn. Well, it was too fast for my turn. Oh, okay, kind of makes sense that. If it's a big one, I might need that turn, If it's so big, I might step past and let him go flying by. So Ibrahim, thank you for waiting. Maybe I've answered your question already, have I?